Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Rising Laterally podcast. This is Arjun Sachdev.
And this is Jay Ballou. We hope you find something here that offers you new meaning or a fresh perspective.
If you do, we encourage you to give it life.
Be bold.
Experiment.
And most importantly, bring it into the interactions with the people you surround yourself with.
And see what happens.
Our guest today is Morgyn Danae, a coach and someone who is on a mission to show how dance is a healing art that provides support for people of all ages so that we can claim and possibly reclaim, but definitely transform our creative centers with self-love while celebrating our own unique power and beauty. Morgyn, we're excited to have you on as a node into the dance movement therapy world, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really good to be here with both of you.
Great to have your presence, and this conversation is timely. First off, if you look on Google Trends and search dance therapy, more people are looking at it now than they were this time last year. And generally speaking, over the last 12 months, if you look at the trends, there have been peaks where dance therapy as a search has reached over 90 on a scale of 100 in terms of interest level several times. So it just goes to show that people are very interested in dance movement therapy. And I also find it interesting that the US ranks 4th in that search behind New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, and they're just ahead of South Africa. So now that you know that, Morgyn, what do you think that tells us about the human spirit in our souls?
Oh, it just confirms that we are built for healing. First of all, we're really designed for that, and that we are in a time when people are en masse waking up. We know that, and seeking healing, seeking ways to find, to express themselves as well creatively. And dance is just, we were designed to move. We were designed for dance. It's in our cells. It's in our DNA. It's in our human history. And it just, to me, it just confirms that it's a really, really powerful and attractive way of healing, that people are making that connection, again.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes they're doing it for the first time, and sometimes, as you said, they're trying to reclaim or reconnect. And it really makes sense if you put it in the context of society, because there's so many folks that are dealing with individual or family trauma. They're dealing with the pressure of COVID and the lockdown. They're dealing with pressure from work. And then they're looking for this healing, as you were just talking about. They're looking for some guidance. They're looking for an alternative or a shift in perspective so that they can actually start to become a version of themselves that they want to actually carry on with. So, how did you find this therapy? What was it about maybe your childhood or your 20s or that part of your life where, you started to find this?
Okay. Yeah. So, basically I was born to dance, always loved dancing. That's just an intrinsic, organic part of me, and thank goodness, I was born into a family of creative people, and we had that oft times mix of creativity and expressiveness and affection and love and laughter and neglect and abuse and addiction and mental illness, the interesting mix, and that we often see that too in like really sensitive people and creative people as well. So dance was always there. My whole family just danced at a drop of a hat, so dance was just there. Dance was a part of me, something that I always loved. And as I moved into my 20s, that's when I was also kind of, we'll call it, waking up spiritually in that awakening process. And, that can be, it's generally can be a very raw place. It comes from some level of just knowing something's not right or knowing what is not right, just basically going through a very challenging time.
There's a little pain there, maybe.
A lot of pain. Yeah. And it was manifesting, it was manifesting physically, it was manifesting emotionally. And I basically knew that I had to make a shift. Now, again, there was dance, it was just, again, it wasn't like, oh, I was very structured, disciplined type of, I shouldn't say it in that voice. That's a beautiful thing. I am also a structured and disciplined dancer,
Yeah.
but at that time, I was, it was just from my soul, and it was always a part of me. And so at that time in my life, I was hitting that place of deep pain. My body had been manifesting different physical symptoms of different things, including severe low back pain. I had abuse in my childhood, emotional and sexual abuse in my childhood. And, basically, these things show up in the body, right? They will show up in our body. Our body holds our emotions. It holds our memory, holds our wisdom, our intelligence, everything. And so I was at a place in my life where I knew something was going to have to shift. I was going to go down another path that was just not going to be, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be alive today, basically.
Wow. Yeah.
So at that time, my early 20s, my dad became ill with cancer. And that was basically kind of brought me to a breaking point. I thought I was going to die. That's a lot of attachment, but nevertheless. And so all of these things kind of came together, and I was blessed to start working with a spiritual teacher who started teaching me about self-love.
Nice.
And in that, yes. So then I was, heal thyself, right? Starting to learn about self-love, self-care, all of these things, and that come from our souls, with our relationship with this greater force of love and, the divine. Right. And all the many, many wonderful aspects and discoveries of that path. And in that, I started to blossom,
Nice.
You're going through all these shadows, all this pain, all these things, but you're also finding the gifts coming out. And at that time, in that part of the process, I just was felt in my heart this calling to teach dance as a healing art. That's just how it came to me. Dance as
beautiful.
A healing
You just
art,
had that pull, right? It was like your heart was being pulled.
That was it. Because it was always so healing for me too. And I just embodied that in my life. And I saw it, what dance does, it transforms. Of course, with intention, it's also used in other ways, and in that time I was studying, and I was working with breathwork and meditation, and body work. I was doing all of those things as well. I was receiving them for my healing, but I was doing them with people as well. So I was doing the dance, and I was doing the all this healing work. And so that's kind of how it all started. Yeah. And I'd always had a really strong connection with the natural world as well. Just basically a natural born witch, witch being a word for, just like a healer, a healer, not all the, whatever the connotations, but just real big, like we're talking healing and nature and magic and beauty and, and so that means also kind of working with healing states, being able to move into different dimensions. We're multidimensional beings. Some of us are open to that. Some of us are not. Some of us develop it and focus on it. So that's part of it. Music, dance, rhythm, that's also something that supports us to go into these different healing states. We do it Absolutely. With meditation. I mean, people are so much more open on many levels too. We have, different frequencies that are in music and that help to support that. There are sounds, that we can make, chants in different forms. This is all part of our human history that can bring us into these different states. So that was just all very kind of natural. Okay. So I guess, hippie, bohemian, whatever, those things are more open. And,
I would say you're someone who found yourself, and you found how to be true to who you are at your center. And so I think there's something beautiful about that. Yes. And, you mentioned the word chronic at the beginning of when you opened up about your story. And to me, that's the other reason why this conversation is so fascinating, is because just in our last episode, we had a spine surgeon on. His name was Dr. David Hanscom. He has spent 32 years doing spine surgery, and he wrote a book that was called "Do You Really Need Spine Surgery?" And he's basically trying to make the case, like, all you need to do is lower your stress chemicals that are being released and that are hitting every part of your body. And in that same way, there's a parallel to dance therapy, because
Absolutely.
all those movements and just dancing in general alleviates all that stress, and your chronic mental and physical pain can go away. And so I just find it so timely that we're talking about this.
Yes, it's very, very connected. I love the title of his book, and that's fantastic. Beautiful that he's doing that work. Absolutely. And with the dance movement and tying that into the body, into our capacity to heal, and the power of, and when I'm speaking about dance therapy, dance as a healing, we're talking dance movement, we're talking breath, we're talking awareness of, connecting into our breath, the power of really moving that breath, that life force through our bodies. We're talking, yes, about also specific, sometimes it's certain healing movements too. Sometimes there's that element too. It's also, could be guided kind of work as well, where you're processing, and so holding the space for different forms of movement to happen,
Right.
and that is super duper connected into our nervous system, which is connected into our spine, which is connected into our bellies, our centers, our digestion. All of this is very connected. And then the spine also being a pathway, a spiritual conduit for energy, cosmic energy, and our grounding cord going down into the earth as well, at the base of our spine with our root chakra. All of these things are connected. So science and mysticism, spirituality, it's all connected. It's how we approach it. And I love it when it's a powerful thing when somebody with a scientific or medical background can bridge all of this truth, because yes, medicine and science, I'm not going to say medicine because it's all medicine. The medical model and the scientific models can do tremendous positive things. But when they have been also used in ways that can be very, very destructive and disconnecting from the body and power over. And I work with that as well. And so really, when we can use these tools and these different perspectives and this vast knowledge and intelligence and discipline to augment humans and augment the truth that we are incredibly infinite, powerful beings, and what we're capable of, we don't really know fully what that is. Come on, but that we can really bring ourselves back from these places of just total disempowerment, whether that's disempowered through the we're giving our power over to the medical model, or giving our power over, to spiritual, leaders. There's so many ways that we can give our power away and not have that power centered in our beings and centered in our connection with the divine, our connection with the natural world. The fact that we are a part of this, and ultimately it's our connection into our intrinsic power and our intrinsic divinity that is you want to watch for. Because if somebody's taking away or trying to usurp, doesn't mean we don't want to listen to people or have guidance or whatever, or professional support. It's not that, but it's the whole thing of when somebody's not listening to you, when your truth isn't taken into account in any way, or you're not really learning any tools to self-heal or to understand yourself or to listen, then it's like, what's that about? And then you're making money off of this too. And so that's a whole other discussion, but we're in powerful times. We're in really powerful times. And it's interesting that just the timing of that, because I was guided to, and I always say, I work for spirit, I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form by any means. It's just that recognizing I listen and sometimes I don't understand, and sometimes I misstep or whatever, but I do feel I was guided to come out to California just before the pandemic hit. And I was guided to that I was going to bring everything full circle, because I've been through many twists and turns, and I have other disciplines that I weave in. But this was my original vision back in the 90s.
Right. So you manifested it to this point.
And so I was brought into these times, and here we are opening up to all of these things. So like that, because I'm going to be 53 in April. And that's another statement for that we can go through whatever we have to go through in our process, stay in the present moment, keep healing, keep growing. We're infinite beings. I'm a little baby in the cosmic sphere. You know what I mean? But in the human terms, it's like, I needed time. I needed time to heal and grow and develop. And now I'm in a new stage of healing, growing, and developing, but bringing this through guidance, divine guidance.
Yeah, a lot of what you have been talking about reminds me of Marion Woodman's book, Addiction to Perfection. I don't know if you've ever come across her.
I'll remember it.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll send you an email maybe after the episode. Yeah. She's a Jungian analyst. And in this book, she talks a lot about the importance of finding connection between like the physical world and the psychical world. So the psychical world being a loose definition, your mind, your spirit, and the physical world being your body. And a lot of people fail to find or foster union between those two things. And, a lot of people, when they're seeking treatment, seeking healing, will focus only on the mind, and they'll, read books, talk about their issues, live the problems out completely in their head. But to your point, humans are amazing creatures. And one of the reasons why we're amazing is because we have this kind of dual world of mind and body. And if you don't bring your body into the healing process, I don't think you're going to get the full sort of revelation. Yes,
exactly. Yes, because the body is matter, but it's also spirit, and it's all these different things. And this is, I feel like, this is connected in with kind of the divine feminine element too, so we're kind of in a time where the divine feminine is emerging and has been, in this healing process. We're just in a healing process, but kind of like to lead the way and then help bring everything into balance so that divine masculine, divine feminine are in their wholeness, in their fullness. But we can't leave out the body, and we have severely turned the body into a machine, and it's negated people's realities being in their bodies. We've, exploited people's bodies and their cultures through their bodies. And by not acknowledging the body, and it's just, been so many things. So on so many levels. So we can't, when we're connected into our body in a healthy way too, because, how many ways do we see of examples of of relating to the body that have a lot of issues.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of trauma played out. There's a lot of ego, sexual abuse trauma being played out a lot. That's a great term. Well, and it's also, it's the imbalance of it, right? Because we want to see the masculine imbalance. We need the masculine imbalance desperately. And it's like, we're just bombarded with that wounded aspect, but then we've got the wounded aspect of the feminine through the body as well. So everything needs to be healed, because we've got the manipulation, we've got the exploitation of sexual power, of feminine sexual power, that gets very manipulative as well. And then we've got I'm just going to go for it here. We've got the masculine programming of over-sexualization and very quickly objectifying, but being numb. Highly sexual, and these forms being very highly sexual, but very also really, maybe they have all the mechanics of sexuality, but it's not connected and it's not actually anchored. Yeah. You're not really in your heart. You're not really feeling, you're feeling these certain, things, sexual things, but it's not the full expression of sexuality either. So those two playing off of each other, right? So, it's
a powerful shift.
It's a powerful shift for everybody to come into their bodies, because coming into your body, it means you're coming into your heart as well, and into your spirit. And that means you're going to feel shit. Pardon my language. I don't know. Can I use that word?
No, definitely.
You're going to feel things, you know what I mean? And that's a very humble place to be. That can just lay you out, you know? So
Starts
it's
to get
it can be
messy.
a very delicate process,
Yeah.
but it can also be, it's a joyful process,
Absolutely.
It's a
So,
joyful
I mean-
process. Can be.
I-
It's all, we want the joy in there, like the joy doesn't have to be hoorah, hoorah, but like the joy.
Quiet joy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think this is such a deep conversation because when you think about it, like the masculine energy, it gets things done. It's
Mhm.
efficient. There's like an orderly manner to it. And so you need that. But then
Yeah.
on the flip side, there's that shadow of the masculine energy where you start to see some of the corruption or, racism or intolerance or inequality. That's like the shadow of the masculine energy. And then the flip side, you start to see the divine feminine energy starts to come through in like less ego, more compassion, more empathy, like more initiative for wellness. And you start to see like women like now standing up more for their rights. They're standing up against the cruel manipulation that's taken place. And so we are seeing this shift, I think, and it is messy. And it's fascinating as a male to be going through this because I see in my conversations with other males, there's a lot of people like my age, I'm 34,
Mhm.
that are now opening up to the fact that when they were growing up, they didn't maybe have like the best dads. And so there's a lot of dudes with daddy issues right now.
Yeah.
And they're becoming more aware of it. And I think that's so powerful because then for the next generation, they're going to know what to do so that maybe that child doesn't go through this similar trauma. And I just think that we have this opportunity right now to like raise our masculine divinity energy, match it with what's going on the female divine energy, and like make this a much more compassionate place.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody doing their work, right? Everybody doing their work. It's very important. And there's sometimes there's just a time and a place for being in that kind of space, coming together, maybe all men or all women, and then coming together, and then sometimes, it's just finding our ways to come together, because sometimes it might be, men and women who relate with masculine energy and in general coming together, or men and women who relate more with feminine energy coming together. I mean, we can work with the different flows, but absolutely, I think it's just essential for people to be working with these different energies and working with their conditioning, and knowing that we have, I mean, there are forces supporting us with this, they know the truth, and they're, these forces of wholeness and divinity are here to support us, and we have them in nature too. We have all the different forces in nature that will guide us and support us as well.
Yeah, I feel like a large part of it is sort of finding the positive pole of either energy you're trying to embody. So respecting the fact that there are negative ways for both, masculine and feminine energy to manifest. And a lot of those negative ways have been ingrained to us by virtue of culture we were born into, or shadows that were projected onto us by past generations, and kind of trying to find like the sort of wholesome, earnest, honest, positive pull of either energy is a really important work as an individual.
Yes, exactly. And just kind of recognizing that, I mean, this is where I'm coming from. I know it saved my life. So I'm so grateful for teachings, really that, finding that common ground in love, that love-based reality, is kind of where everything's going to get dealt with, everything's going to go through its whatever, however many layers and levels of process and healing to come to its kind of essence, true essence.
Interesting.
And to know that like that is a process of, that's like, I find that's very comforting. I haven't always found it comforting, and being in the process, let me tell you, I've fallen many times and like, sabotaged. It just like, I don't even just mess,
Right,
along the way. So hopefully I can also support people not to go to some of the places I've gone. We just have to keep, helping each other along.
You know what
But
I find fascinating about your work in the movements and the dance therapy is that it's, like your body can sometimes describe things that words cannot express. And
yes, you
what I
got
mean,
it.
it's like what I mean by that is late last year, I came across an article in Psychology Today, and the whole article was on how the arts can actually reshape dementia care.
Yes.
And what was fascinating was that there was a lady named Anne Basting, and she's a professor. She's a founder of this nonprofit that's devoted to storytelling. And she was sharing all these ways of how to reinvigorate a relationship with someone who's got dementia. And she shared a really interesting story. She said one time she was sitting down with a gentleman who had no language left. And so she asked him, "Can you show me how water moves?" And he danced for 30 minutes showing how water moves. And she was just like, look, you just don't know what's inside of people who have had the privilege of expression taken away from them until you try to open it up out of them again.
Yes.
And I thought that was so powerful.
So powerful. So true. That's wonderful. Yeah, exactly. That's it. And actually in dementia, it is tremendously powerful dance movement and music, and people being able to maybe in some ways, like really bring them back to life, back into their bodies, bring the soul through, and remember things and recognize things, and just, it's tremendous. It's also incredible, like in places, if you think about, trauma, well, with trauma, we leave our bodies in some ways, and our souls, parts of us can fragment away and they get lost, they get buried they're hiding, so to speak, to hide, to find safety. We get cut off in certain ways.
Thought, yeah.
Yeah. And we shut the heart. I mean, that's like the whole being born into fear that I was taught about, so with the dance, and like I talk about those healing states, we can, like you're saying, we can access this expression or these parts of ourselves, and buried emotions as well. It's incredible. So you think about, like, we all have some place of trauma. Some people have had less than others, but I mean, just as humans on this planet. And so if we're, there's just parts of ourselves that we can access. There are parts that we may have disconnected from, like that, or parts that we just simply want to grow, want to bring forth.
Right.
If you talk about, mental health issues, which I have been through, come to the other side of that, and so I have lived experience of many cycles of dealing with mental illness, in myself, in my body, trauma-based. And so, we can access ways where we're getting out of our head, again, finding safety in the body, to express where we didn't feel safe before. There are just so many examples of it, where the power of dance and that connection that it can help create. And it, in safe space, of course, in safe space, and it's a bridge between people. It's a bridge between all the, deconditioning to come into this kind of dimension. I look at it as just a dimension unto itself.
Sure.
It's really incredible. So there are many stories I could go on about with that. It's a powerful thing to take it back to really, if we claim this just fully, because there are, of course, people that do this and cultures that do this. But in modern society, to do that and really claim it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in reaching people who have lost connection with parts of themselves, again, me being one of those, like, let's call it back and express it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Do you feel that it's a challenge for people to take that first step into dance therapy, after living maybe for years blocked off from their bodies, or with certain parts of their bodies blocked off to them. I just like, even being candid about myself, I imagine if I was to step into, a dance therapy studio or session for the first time, it would probably feel very unnatural for me. Like I feel the tightness, the rigidity. I can already kind of feel like the embarrassment of the moment. So I'm just wondering if you see that with people that are new to it and how they start to break through and be a more fluid energy in that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really depends on, kind of what approach is happening with the dance, because there are just many forms that I kind of do it with, do it in. But it's always about a bridge, there's always like the connecting in to the process. It's not just like, oh, come on in. I just want you to dance freely. Get over yourself if you're not, if you're comfortable, it's not like that, because there are different gradations. Sometimes, so we always want to start with, kind of opening up the space and connecting. You want to just kind of connect. First of all, you don't want to just come in feeling like a stranger in this sea of people. Because I've worked with people one-on-one, I work with people in groups, whatever. So it's always about connecting first, connection, relationship, and then easing into connecting into the body, breath work, some gentle movement, warm up, and it could be like an exercise that you're going to do to kind of start to move the body in a certain way. So it's kind of to relieve that pressure of feeling like you're performing for somebody, and then you're performing and being judged as well, because that's not what it's about. It's more about, it's a vehicle for supporting you to get connected with yourself, and then feel that connection to the music, and feel, and then if you're with other people, connecting to the other people as well. But not necessarily like doing tremendous amounts of connection with the other. You could be, it's, there's kind of a variety. It depends. You could be working with other people directly, or just in a group. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's, because there's kind of a variation in terms of what I do. Sometimes it's somebody who's got all kinds of physical trauma, maybe from a medical trauma, from like maybe postpartum, like a very serious, like bad birth experience, or surgery that went wrong, or abusiveness that was happening. Or it could be they have had a history with sexual abuse, or maybe they don't even know why, but they feel self-conscious about dancing. It's all, or there are also dancers who are really trained and excel at the technique, but they're actually disconnected from their bodies, in a way. So there are kind of different ways, but it's all about bridging, if that makes sense. So you're not really creating a space where it's not about, you're not going to be judged, and you're going to be eased into it. Sometimes there's a mix going on, but sometimes it's specifically geared towards these different issues.
Generally what we're trying to talk about is just that connection. If you think about dancing, you are connecting your own thoughts with these sensations. So really the connection is with yourself. And then when you're dancing, really it's also kind of like a relaxation tool, because you have to be mindful a little bit about your movements. But then I also think that helps you listen, because you're going to start listening to your own body. You're going to start to feel like, okay, my body moves in this way, it doesn't move in that way, and that's totally fine. And I'm going to forgive myself for the fact that I can't be a break dancer, right? But that's going to allow me to like let go and move forward, and that's going to allow me to return to my inner child. I'm going to be able to spend like quality time with myself. I'm going to be rewarding myself because I'm not judging myself. I'm playing through dance, and all of that is just why dance therapy can reduce your stress, and why it should be a part or an alternative to some of the ways that you might be wanting to seek some therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely connecting with that creative inner, the inner child as well, that, opening up like that. And that hasn't always felt safe. And it's also recognizing, again, it can be approached in different ways, but when our bodies aren't used to moving or haven't been used to moving, there's a process of opening up the body. I always want to support people to kind of like get movements to start to connect and open up, and, just really go through a process of opening up the body from head to toe as well, that feels very gentle. And because a lot of people have been sedentary, have been holding things, and it's really breaks my heart when people really, really, really want to dance and they don't have that opportunity to get to it, but there's that longing. I want to help bridge that for people who want that, I mean, again, I work with people at different levels.
A little bit.
Yeah. And just know that, because I remember working with somebody who is an amazing, amazing artist and has, not specifically into calling, saying they're a dancer or whatever, but a creative person. And throughout the years had taken a dance class here or there, various, and just really had a tremendously difficult time with coordination, like super difficulty in breathing, disconnect from the core as well, which I work with, connecting into the center core and all different ways to do that, and work with the dysfunctions that happen with that, the pain and different issues. And just really had to break it down super duper slowly, working with breath work, really slowly working out coordination, like breaking it down. And that was a one-on-one thing that worked. It turned out that they hadn't connected it and I didn't know about it, but they had some severe trauma earlier in life. And so that had affected the coordination pathways and the breathing pathways.
Oh, wow.
And they had been treated with abusiveness by all these dance teachers who had lost patience and put them down and gone off on them. And it's like, no, that's not. So honestly, like dance teachers it's just about being a healing force,
Sure. Yeah, it kind of reminds, I don't know if you've seen the movie Black Swan with Natalie Portman, where the dance instructor is kind of constantly, ridiculing her and criticizing her for being too rigid. And in a sense, that's the exact kind of opposite environment of what you're talking about. You want it to be a space for people to connect with their bodies in a fluid, honest way. But it just kind of reminded me of your comments a little earlier on about how, there's a difference between this kind of dance therapy and like very structured, disciplined dancing that you might find in ballet. There's sort of, I guess, a kind of push-pull between trying to do something correctly for the sake of an art form and trying to do something as a more sort of healing art.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not a ballet dancer, so I don't, I can't speak for ballet. But I still think that anything that we're doing with dance, having high standards and, strong focus on technique and excellence in technique, you can still be kind, you can be strict, but kind, so it's really like, I think I don't want to take it out of the pot, because any dance form can be, if anything we do, it doesn't matter what we're doing, if we're doing it with love.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can be really strict. I mean, there can be strictness, and, I still teach, I'll teach technique work. And, I teach belly dance, you can teach different things. I do work with, combining in belly dance or Latin movement, modern dance, if, it depends on the class again, or the session, but all of that can still be handled with supporting you to be present with your body, to ground, to pay attention to your breath, to connect into your heart, to remember that you're loved, to you can be focused. There are different forms of dance. They're just, but we can still be in the love place of dance. So, these are still different, areas, but I just want to bring that to center.
Sure, yeah.
Anything can be done with love.
Oh yeah.
No matter what's happening. So I don't want to, and there are some amazing ballet teachers as well who are beautiful, and they're, so I think dance, the whole world of dance also, though, and dance performance is facing this whole thing around healing. It's up because the pandemic has brought it up. Because performers when they can't perform, and if you're in that your only sense of self is based on performing, and it's all getting put into the pot. It's all getting put into the pot. So Yeah. And then dance movement, when I work with dance therapy, it can be used also for healing, specific techniques used for healing the body, so you can work with it in all different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So just to put that, I'm always going to bring it back to how we're going to do this with love and the medicine, because people are also doing dance, hopefully because they love dance, whether they're ballet dancers, they're ecstatic dancing or dancing in nature, whatever it is, hopefully you're having your that love of dance experience.
Absolutely.
Definitely want to get back to some of the breathing techniques, maybe 2 or 3. And then I also have a question, because you mentioned postpartum, and I know that there's going to be a set of listeners who are pregnant right now. And if you can shine light on what you tell people that you work with that are in the prenatal phase and the postpartum phase. So not to put too much on the plate, but let's start with some of the breathing techniques.
Sure.
And then let's talk about how you might help pregnant folks.
Okay, so just to say, all of this breath work is great for everybody in all stages. It's all good. And it's actually great birth preparation. Breathing is great birth preparation. It's also really important. We don't want to ever negate or discount the postpartum process, because that goes for the rest of your life. And women often don't understand, or men as well, that the postpartum period is super duper important to be healing and to be getting support for your healing. And that's a whole other experience. And so all of these are really powerful for everybody.
Nice.
So basically, I'm going to just break it down. We're going to start with just rubbing the hands together. We have these wonderful healing chakras in our hands, and we want to just call up that healing light energy, calling in divine forces of love and light to support and guide and protect us in this process. And then if you're comfortable with it, some people aren't comfortable with touching their bellies, but if you feel comfortable with that, if not, you put your hands together, put your hands on your legs, resting. But I want to encourage you, and we'll do this, I don't know if you can see me, my notebook. I want to encourage you to put your hands on your belly, around your belly button, a little below, and just go ahead and just let your body get settled there for a moment. If you have any, remembering if you've had a C-section or any kind of abdominal surgery, any kind of, scar with your tummy, your hips, anything like that, just to really send that healing energy there, and just know that it's safe to connect into your center. If you have had any other aversion to touching your belly for any other reason that you know of or don't know of, just only do it if you feel safe and feel, comfortable doing that. So we're going to just feel our bodies sinking into the surface beneath us, feeling the support underneath us, feeling the support of Mother Earth underneath us, and just feeling the golden white light all around us of divine love presence in our higher selves. And we're just going to take a nice deep breath in through our nose, filling our low belly to the best of your ability. And just a nice gentle exhale out through your nose or your mouth. Just let it happen. Feel the tension kind of melting out of your body. Relax the face muscles. And again, nice slow deep breath in through your nose, into your belly. And a nice exhale. And we're going to do this a couple more times. Don't worry about how many breaths, how deep you can breathe, because you might feel a lot of tension in your chest and your neck and shoulders. You might be breathing a little bit more into your chest. Not necessarily used to breathing into your tummy. Just send the message to your body. It's okay. We can send that breath down to the belly. And just keeping it nice and relaxed to the best of your ability. And again. And you may feel some lightness, lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea. You want to just back off a little if that happens. That means that your body is really needing this oxygen, that you have been breathing more shallowly, which is normally what we learn to do when we forget about our natural breath, just for coping. It's a coping mechanism to breathe in a shallow way. Again, filling your belly like a balloon, and a nice slow exhale, letting that exhale go down through your belly, down to your pelvic floor, down to the base of your spine, down through your grounding cord into the earth, to the center of Mother Earth. This is our core is connected to Mother Earth's core, just like a baby is connected to its mother. Just continue that breath. And again. And just giving thanks to Mother Earth for this support and connection. Thanks to love. Thanks to your body for nourishing you, to allowing the nourishment. And knowing that as you breathe in and out, filling your belly, emptying your belly, allowing that expansion instead of holding it all in. The ebb and the flow, the expansion and the contraction is just like the ebb and the flow of the ocean, the ebb and the flow of the cycles of the moon, all of the cycles in nature, in life. You're just connecting into those greater cycles. And if you are pregnant, just letting that breath, just knowing that breath and that fresh oxygen is going to your baby. And it's a wonderful way to bond for your little one, is knows that it's getting good love and life force energy as well. And knowing that you're preparing yourself for birth and for postpartum. This is all it's toning the diaphragm muscle, it's toning the pelvic floor. So we just keep it very simple like this, the inhale and the exhale, relaxed to the best of your ability. And then we slowly come present to the body. And I'm going to keep my eyes open, but would you like me to do one more? Or is that good?
Go for
I'd
it.
enjoy another one.
Okay, so we can just keep our eyes closed. And this is where we start with this gentle diaphragmatic breath, connecting in and grounding, knowing that it may take practice. It may take a lot of practice to be able to really feel this connection, because we're often disconnected into our low bellies and into this wonderful ebb and flow. And that is for men and women. And so with this, to work a little deeper into our natural brace of our whole core musculature. And all of this is massaging our internal organs, which hold different energies and different emotions. It's getting the blood and the lymph flowing. It's toning our nervous system, which has been so overwhelmed and is off balance. We're taking it out of fight or flight, bringing it into rest and digest, supporting our immune system, supporting our digestion of emotions as well as food and drink. This is our creative centers of our chakras, our second chakra, which is our creative center and our sexual energy. Our life force, it's helping to support that. We're working with the root chakra, which is our sense of survival and belonging, connection. We're also working up into our solar plexus at the top of our bellies, just below our ribs, our power, sense of power and self, our will, our self-confidence. All of these, we can get very tender and sore in these areas as well. So continuing with that breath, we're going to call in the support of our core muscles as well. So much more than six-pack anxiety. They're really here to support us and be this wonderful, wonderful base for movement, for holding our backs and our spines strong, for helping our hips to move and our mobility, for our way to walk in power in the world and to dance freely, to birth our children with strength and to recover, to heal our bodies that have been through so many different things, to remind them that they are loved, that we are strong, that we can build our strength, that we can move after devastating times of trauma and illness and major surgeries. We can reclaim this after deconditioning. We can decondition our bodies after the conditioning that has held us back in society, whatever that may be. So here we are, we're going to gather up our breath again. We're going to take a nice breath into our bellies, through the nose, relaxing the face. And then when we exhale, we're going to put our hands on our waist with love, not with judgment, just with love. And we're going to feel on our exhale, those hip bones coming together, wrapping all around our bodies like a loving brace. And we may not feel it, but we send the message into the mind body to start to program. Slow exhale, emptying out, drawing up the pelvic floor and bringing everything in together to meet. From the bottom, the top, the sides coming together, the hip bones, from the top of the pubic bone to the base of the spine as well, bringing it all together, and the waist coming together, the back of the waist, and continuing on the inhale. And on the exhale, just feeling your hands on your waist, lovingly drawing in, bringing the hands close together, drawing the hip bones together. Feeling it wrapping all around you, all underneath you in this wonderful, wonderful brace of nurturing and support. And one more time. And a nice slow exhale. Emptying the belly, emptying and pulling everything together, emptying out. We're engaging that transverse abdominis deep core muscle that is just so supportive. Another nice inhale, filling the belly, feeling free. Nice slow exhale, relaxed. And with our grounded center, thanking Mother Earth again for her grounding, thanking cosmic divine light source, love for protecting us, for all of the reminders, keeping us safe and nourished. And we just slowly come back to at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And gently opening the eyes with a soft gaze. Coming back and remembering that our bodies are intelligent and that they will hold this memory, and that we continue to work with it. Remembering that we are a bit altered, and we want to. You all look adorable, and we just want to just allow ourselves to come back and be in this state that is altered and grounded. And remembering that sipping some water is a good idea because there's detoxification that happens. And so we want to remember to continue to drink water throughout the day. We want to do that. We want to do that anyway, but it's important to do that with breath work. Thank you. Yeah.
That was excellent.
So Morgyn, how would people be able to find you?
My website is morgyndanae.com.
Okay.
And I guess you can see the spelling right now, but if they're listening, morgyndanae.com. I am on Instagram at Morgyn Danae Wellness, and I'm consolidating. I had another page, but I will have consolidated it into this one page. So one place, Morgyn Danae Wellness, Morgyn Danae Wellness on Facebook, and then on LinkedIn, Morgyn Danae.
Lovely. And we'll include that in show notes as well. But this has been fantastic. And I know I'm walking away with the fact that as we all learn how to become more of our own true, authentic selves at our center with no judgment, like the one that's at our center, if that's completely unblocked, then that's how we're going to reach our full potential. Because it's like that comfort level with yourself is actually also part of the healing.
Yes. Essential. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a blessing being with you. Thank you, Morgyn.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was so good to meet both of you. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can sign up for the Rising Weekly newsletter sent out each week.
Every Friday, we expand on the episode with insights, recommendations, and more.
You can sign up at risinglatterly.com.
Thank you.